Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'm sorry for the evil laugh. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I need to try to stop starting these videos off, but I look at some of these titles, bro. This shit's crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to, I'll name this segment later, GTG spits that grease, so on and so forth. Title forever in the works. You guys ever want to recommend a title or sponsor a show? Feel free to leave an idea for a title down in the comment section below, and it might make it into one of these. And thank you. Okay, so DSP is talking about how he pioneered the two-man show, the two-man co-op, and he was an innovator. An innovator? I don't know. I think let's start with the innovator part first. Let's start with the latter, because DSP is good for taking an L. So let's start with that. Him being an innovator is no. Well, yeah. Actually, ladies and gentlemen, he might be an innovator. He may very well be the original e-thought. He may very well be not even the original e-thought, the progenitor of e-thoughting. If you think about it, someone who's willing to show their ass, lie, cheat, whatever the case may be for money, and get simps to do it, he might very well be. And there's been a lot of e-beggars, trust me. But DSP is one of the greatest e-beggars to ever exist on the internet, if you think about it. Then, as it pertains to just massive pathological liar, DSP needs to be up there too. He has to be at least in the top 10 for that. But as it pertains to innovator, I mean, he produced slop content in mass and made a few $1 million off of it. You gotta, you know what I'm saying? He has, I think people will go back and look and be like, the reason why the gaming industry was the way it was for a period of time was because of DSP. His absolute ignorance and the ubiquitous nonsense that he likes to do is fucking crazy. His ignorance it may very well bring in usher in the dark ages of stupidity in games. He may deserve he may actually get some credit on that. Being an internet personality who's just absolutely horrible at games, that no matter what genre of game that you yourself enjoy, you can laugh at, because DSP tried to play everything, because DSP tried to blanket everything, right? Cast the widest net possible, and humiliated himself over multiple genres of games over almost 2 decades. Almost 2 decades. You know what I'm saying? And that's just some of the stuff that I'm willing to be decent about and bring up. He might very well be an innovator, just not in the way that he thinks, if you think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, how is it that every community you ever stepped into either mock you relentlessly or wish you were never there? How is that a thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, how is that a thing? Anyway, as it pertains to pioneering the two-man co-op, I'm pretty confident there's always been people who did co-op content. There were always people who were doing two-man shows when it came to wrestling. So DSP didn't innovate that. He didn't say that, but I'm trying to cover my bases. So he didn't do that. He didn't co-op two-man gaming. He didn't even make it, like, he didn't style it like or anything. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't the first person to do it. You could say he was probably one of the earlier people to do it, but he didn't make it fashionable, right? He didn't bring it to mainstream. Other people did that. So I don't know, just a delusional pig being a delusional pig. But in any case, let's just go ahead and get right to it. You know what I'm saying? I already started this off with an evil laugh and whatnot, so it is what it is. Big ups to Chio for the backgrounds and assets as usual and whatnot. And let's see here. Let's get in this nonsense. Like, pioneered the two-man fucking co-op. What?
And I think that we can move on. Okay.
When did you pioneer anything in particular? Nothing good, I'll definitely tell you that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so as we go through our roll call of people, big ups to Raw Phil and also big ups to Diggs for cutting this up for me. Now let's give you guys the official title and let's get right into it. So let's see here. DSP speaks on pioneering the two-man Let's Play co-op show. He was an innovator. This is from June 17th of 2026. For those who are asking, yes, the Snort report will be coming back. That's going to be more long form though. We're going to get deep into my bag and whatnot to make sure that there's a reason why I hold the belt for just speaking into the ether for long periods of time. So there's there's that. And then the Snort retort will be premiering hopefully sometime this year, and that'll be more mid-range. So, you know, if you're wondering why some of these seem like they're getting shorter or whatever the case may be, there's kind of a reason, there's kind of a method in the madness a little bit. We got a lot of things going on over here, okay? We're doing a lot of work, okay? So big ups. All right, so without further ado, people, here we go.
And I think that we can move on, okay? Now, what about Mina the Hollower? Let's talk about it. But first, Red Eyes Black Dragon just did a $5 super chat and said, what are your thoughts on the old YouTube Let's Players' two best friends? There was talk of them getting back together. Just wondering if you knew of them. I have never seen them whatsoever.
That's a lie. Obviously, it's a lie. Anybody who was getting views in gaming back in those days, DSP watched them. He don't want to admit it because he doesn't want anybody to think that he bit off them. But he watched them. Trust me.
Not once. The thing was, back in the day...
Because DSP is such an original individual, right? He didn't steal anybody else's bit or anybody else's stick or anything like that. He came up with everything completely original on his own. No nostalgia critic, no angry video game nerd. Who's the other guy you bit off of? No Howard Stern. No, none of that happened. None of that happened. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, none of that happened. He was the originator. Keep that in mind.
Right? I was one of the more prominent YouTube gamers. At one point. It's been a very long time since I have been. Okay, right now I'm pretty much just a small niche guy. And at one point, a lot of the things...
How are you a small niche guy, but then you run around and say that you're a jack of all trades, master of none, and you're a variety streamer, and you're a variety gamer? Huh? Okay.
That I was...
If someone wants to translate dent for me, when it comes to that, I very much appreciate it. I very much appreciate that.
doing were interesting and prominent, and people would talk about them. Thank you, Soul at 2 a.m.
Sad. So goddamn sad. So goddamn sad. Go out and get some sun, Phil. For real, for real. You're not even joking. Go out there and get yourself some sun. Do you know, vitamin D will do you a world of good. I mean, do Cat a world of good too, but you guys both need a different type of vitamin D. Well, no, you really like chasing that BBC, so maybe you do want the same vitamin D that she needs. Anyway, you guys need to go out and get some sun. That's the point. You guys need to go out and get some sun.
Appreciate that. We'll shut that out in a second. And so, back in the day, I used to do weekly co-op sessions with my friend John Rambo.
Treated fairly with money. But the problem is, info that's been presented to you is not exactly true. So it's something that he says quite often. John got 50%. He got half of everything that we made together, or videos I was in with him, right? And again, Howard, like, why is this something that's said publicly?
This should have.
Can you come up with any kind of reason?
There is no reason to say this unless he's lying, or B, he's trying to save face. There is no reason to even address anything about money publicly on a YouTube video.
Yeah, and this is done way before there was any kind of before there was major problems. It's just something that's thrown out like, oh look, I'm a great guy. I'm giving him half the money.
Yeah,
I get. It's not exactly the truth. Okay, so he starts doing YouTube stuff in 2008. I start doing videos with him. We've been hanging out for a couple years before that, playing games. So just kind of transition into now we're going to be playing games, but recording games, you know. And I did this stuff from 2008 when he started YouTube. I did this for probably a couple years for nothing. He signs on with Machinima a few years later, and I had to come to him and ask, because we're still doing videos. And I said, since you're getting something for this, do you feel that I should get a percentage of that for my efforts on here, right? Mm-hmm. So we make an agreement, which will be basically half of the month's co-op income. So what happens is he takes out taxes from that amount and cuts it in half, right? I get half of that. But for instance, like if it's March and we do videos in March, I will get a percentage of what was made in March. That does not include residuals like for months coming up. Like for instance, if those videos make more money in April or June and July, okay, like that doesn't include that. So whatever was made in April for that month, that's what I would get. It does not include streams or whatever other money comes in, right?
Yep.
This went on for a little while. Again, it's not exactly 50% if you throw that out there, but this goes on for a little while. Then he says to me, Machinima isn't sending me reports anymore, so I have no idea. I have no idea of the amount of money that we're making on the co-op. I have no way of figuring it out. So I can no longer figure out this percentage that we agreed on. So I basically just go, okay, listen, throw me $100 every time I come down. Okay? And the way I come to this number is because round trip, it's about 2.5 hours of driving. Right? I'm there the entire day, and I have to buy a meal at some point. So give me $100 to kind of cover my expense. You also have to consider, these are days like I'm not going to work because my job, and I'm an independent contractor, so I'm not going to work these days. So if you really do the math, with gas and food and wear and tear in your car, $100 every time you come, you're not exactly profiting there. And including not going to or working at a job which will actually make you more money than this,
Yep.
So just to flat out say you got 50%, it's far from true. It's far from the truth there. Like I guess it's half truth. It's a half truth. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, it's a half truth.
So when people want to throw other stuff out there, man, like you went to conventions and you paid for things. Again, like you go to conventions, you got to take time from work, which is I'm not getting paid for work. And we went to conventions, he's got an injury. He says a back injury. So I would go and I would carry things. I would film things. I did all the driving, as you know, and do whatever I could to help. I was coming as not. It's not just like, hey Phil, take me on this trip, and I'll fuck around and I'll sit by the pool. Came as basically to assist him in his business, as he likes to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's not me. That wasn't me complaining about like I should have gotten this, or should have gotten that, or anything else. It's just like, again, it gets out there. He got half of what's made, but there's many more details in there that are not given. Let's get into this, man. I'll spend all day on this. Probably go 8 hours on this topic. Try to keep it down as much as we can. But we got to touch on Project 7 because again, there's things said publicly that kind of need to be addressed.
And we would play a wide variety of games.
And so did other people. So what does that mean? You didn't pioneer it and you didn't make it popular. You didn't even make it mainstream. So, you know what I'm saying? Just because other people may have watched you do it doesn't mean that you pioneered it though. Whatever. We're splitting pig hair at this point.
We do action games. We do RPGs. We do the stupid motion control things on the Kinect and the PS Move. We would do retro games. We would do modern games. We did everything. And we did this for like 2-3 years straight. Every weekend, we do a co-op segment.
Oh, yeah, when you were slaving John out? Oh, yeah, I remember that. You guys want to hear that story real fast? Let me listen to how John Rambo got slaved out. Okay, so John got into a situation financially where he he needed some money to kind of help himself with this shit. Well, he needed some money, social compensation. So DSP said that he would cut him in, allegedly, 50-50 on whatever they made off of the co-op content. John said, okay. So they did that for a while. It was a good deal, this, that, and the third. Then all of a sudden, Machinima comes to DSP and says, hey, you know how we are able to give you a report that discerns or categorizes or itemizes. There we go. Good. That's a good one. Itemizes what each video that you post that month makes. Yeah, we can't do that. We can't do that for you anymore. Just out of nowhere, they said that they can't do that anymore. So DSP, if you believe his story, of course, DSP goes to John Rambo and says, hey, John, man, You know how they used to itemize the reports for us and whatnot to let me know exactly what our co-op stuff makes, so I could pay you, your 50%, or as DSP also has said, I paid him handsomely. Whatever, but that's not what 50% is being paid handsomely. That's being paid fair. Semantics. They don't do that anymore. So I don't know how I should pay you or how I can pay you. So John said, hey, give me like $100 or $150 every time I come up and whatnot, because he had to drive 3 hours round trip. John did. So like, give me like throw me like $100, $150 every day that I come out there, and we'll call it even. DSP immediately jumps on and says, yeah, good. Okay, no problem. Great. I'm pretty sure it was like $100. So that means if John had to go up there for the weekend, he was literally only getting paid $200 a day. Now for DSP, he looks at it as, oh, well, you're getting paid handsomely. He's just that, and the third. Well, the video don't happen if John don't show up. So there you go. Now, after hearing that, I had said, well, wait a second. How much were you paying John before that? Just because Machinima can't actually spoon feed you exactly how much he made doesn't mean that $200 over the span of a weekend is actually fair. So what were you paying him before that, and why couldn't you just pay him meet that particular price point? Now DSP in later years tried to say, oh well, John just threw the number at me. I would have paid him more. I would have gladly paid him way more money, but that's what he asked for, so that's what I gave him. So DSP admitted that he wasn't paying John fairly. John threw out a number and DSP just took it because it was easy.
Side of things, I know some other people in our circle don't agree, but I believe I was treated fairly with money. But the problem is, info that's been presented to you is not exactly true. So it's something.
Okay. John feels that he was treated fairly with money, but people in their circle don't agree. Who? What are you talking about? This is about you and me. This is not about people in your circle. And what did you tell them? So you told people in your circle what money you were making in our videos. Other people knew, okay? It wasn't just me on one side. He was telling people all around him what kind of money he was making, apparently, and they said it wasn't enough. So there's the seed of, oh, you're not happy. You shouldn't be happy with that. You should have more, right? Again, John said earlier, this isn't about money. I don't care what everyone else makes around me. He says here, Phil treated me fairly with money. But now he's about to have a whole segment about money. So why? If you feel you were treated fairly, right? Why are you doing a segment about money? He says, oh, because there's some misinformation. Even if there was misinformation, who cares? You were treated fairly with money. How is this an issue? Right? And then he says, the circle of friends. Again, when I watched this video, and I've watched it many, many times over the years, this is a 7-year-old video, there is this reference to a circle of people behind the scenes who are basically, which sounds to me, they're poisoning the well. They're looking at the situation as outsiders, right? And they're telling John, hey, John, you were treated badly. This was bad. Why were, meanwhile, John and I are having a blast. We're making content. We're making money. We're having a good time together. There's no ill will there. All right. But what is this circle of friends telling you didn't make enough money? And why are you listening to them if you feel like you did? Right? This comes up later. There's other topics where they start saying, oh, people in our friend circle said this and that. What? Why is this discussed in your friend circle? This is you and me, our friendship, our business relationship. Why is this being poisoned by others? This is weird to me. To hear him say it like this, it's very telling that there's other stuff going on that you don't know about until this video comes out, okay? Anyway, let's see what John has to say about money, which he said you shouldn't talk about.
That he says quite often, John got 50%, he got half of everything that we made together, or videos I was in with him, right? And again, Howard, why is this something that's said publicly?
This should have.
Can you come up with any kind of reason?
There is no reason to say this unless he's lying, or B, he's trying to save face.
I'm trying to save face because at this time, again, when did I start talking about that shit publicly? 2014, 2015. Because people started, again, maybe mostly trolls, but people saying, Phil, why is John on your content? Phil, John said he would be in your content and he's ignoring you. Why? Did you not pay him? And that was a big thing. people always wanted to make it about money when John never had an issue with money. Never once did he say to me, I'm not getting paid enough for my work. And so I never thought it was an issue. Now, I have no idea when I started talking about it publicly, nor do I know the context because I couldn't find it. I'm sure people will find it now, and that's fine. Because I'm going to tell you, I know I said it. I know that I said this, that I paid John 50%. I know I should I have said that? Probably not. At the same time, do you feel that if you were getting paid 50% of the money being made on a project that's a co-op, is that enough? Right? I'm trying to be fair. People were constantly attacking me, telling me that I was not paying John. Like, this was an ongoing thing with my trolls, that Phil was a scumbag who ripped off John and never paid him, or didn't pay him enough, and he was pocketing all the money and being the big guy who was rich and everything, and John was getting nothing, and I was basically using his work and profiting off of it and all that, and it couldn't have been further from the truth, as we're about to discuss. But this became a common meme, much like all the memes about me today that are stupid bullshit. The more that people say something, the more they will believe it, whether or not there's any evidence at all. There was no evidence of any of this because John never talked about it publicly, nor did I. So there's no way they could say that, but that was their line of reasoning, is that, oh, Phil doesn't pay John. Okay? So one day I'm sure I got annoyed, like Howard says, I take the troll bait. I got annoyed, and on a stream I say, listen, I was fair. I paid John 50%. Was it a lie? No. It was saving face. Howard is correct. I was trying to save face. I was trying to justify that you can't tell me the reason John doesn't want to be in my stuff today is money. He was always paid fairly. I shouldn't have done that. Another mistake I made.
There's no reason to even address anything about money publicly on a YouTube video.
Yeah, this is done way before there was any kind of before there was major problems. Just something that's thrown out like, "Oh, look, I'm a great guy. I'm giving him half the money."
Yeah.
It's not exactly the truth. Okay, so he starts doing YouTube stuff in 2008. I do.
There's some of it.
You know, I start doing videos with him.
That's Street Fighter vlogging.
We've been hanging out for a couple years before that, playing games. So just kind of transition into now we're going to be playing games, but recording games. You know, and I did this stuff from 2008 when we started YouTube. I did this for probably a couple years for nothing.
He says he did it for a couple of years for nothing. That's correct. Any videos that he appeared in before I was able to monetize those videos, he didn't get paid for. I was only able to monetize the gameplay videos in early 2011 when I got partnered with Machinima. So any videos he appears in prior to that, he didn't get paid for. Also, I didn't get paid for them either.
I signed on with Machinima a few years later, and I had to come to him and ask, because we're still doing videos. I said, since you're getting something for this, do you feel that I should get a percentage of that for my efforts on here, right? So we make an agreement.
By the way, he says, I had to come to him and ask. He says it like he was doing these videos for an extended period of time, and I was not paying him, and then he had to ask for the money. No. Once I got partnered, it was pretty quick. I can't exactly tell you when. I could tell you it was relatively quickly after I got partnered and he was regularly doing the co-op with me, and then we started seeing the results. Oh, the views were good. There's money coming in. And then he said, hey, can I get paid for that? I said, absolutely. You are 100% entitled to getting paid. You're part of this content. It wasn't like, oh, I did it for months and months and I had to then ask him and beg him for money. That's not what happened. The way he says that makes it sound like that, and that's not what happened at all. The fuck?
Which will be basically half of the month's co-op income. So what happens is he takes out taxes from that amount and cuts it in half.
Fair.
I get half of that. But for instance, like if it's March and we do videos in March, I will get a percentage of what was made in March. That does not include residuals like for months coming up. Like for instance, if those videos make more money in April or June and July, okay, like that doesn't include that. So whatever was made in April for that month, that's what I would get. It does not include streams or whatever other money comes in, right?
Yep.
This went on for a little while.
Okay, so let's address this because this is for part one. Then there's a part two to it where the agreement changed. Okay. Here's the full story for context. I was working with Machinima as a partnered member, And that means that I would put out videos. Dependent on the views the videos got, I would make a flat rate of money per number of views on a video. Machinima would keep all the ad revenue and give me that flat rate. Most cases, they were making more money on the ad revenue than what they were paying me. That's how they made their profits, and they made a living, basically. They were making the money on the ads. I was getting the flat rate payments, okay? So, John is correct. What we would do a month of content, okay? Now, by the way, people seem to have this very weird conception or notion that YouTube is this big corporate entity that runs crazy amounts of tracking and reports and has all this data that is completely false, okay? Especially back then, we're talking like 2011. Here's how I got paid, and here's how I figured out any data. I got paid by a PayPal payment, one lump sum a month. There you go. There's your money. Okay, what is this? Is this revenue from one channel, other channels, all channels? Oh, that's just all your revenue. So I don't even know the money coming in. What's it from? Is it from DSP Gaming? I had other channels running. Or is it from the other channel? I don't know. Here it is. Lump sum. Okay. So how do I figure out what made what? Especially back then, there was no way to figure that out on YouTube. There was no analytics tab on YouTube. It didn't exist. There was no way to figure out how much money a video made. Okay? What you would have to do is manually sort videos and start counting views and shit. So it was a nightmare. I was like, dude, with the amount of co-op videos we're pumping out, right? Every week we're doing a co-op. That's what, 20, 30 videos plus smart guys. Like, we're talking, we'd have to track 100 more videos a month to figure out what we're making on these specific videos. So I started contacting Machinima behind the scenes, and I made a request of them that they thought was ridiculously outlandish. I said, hey guys, you're the ones who have all the data. You're the partner network. You're tracking videos. You have access to all that data. Can you, on a monthly basis, start sending me reports on videos? And, you know, can I use those reports to pay? Well, here's what I told them, which is kind of stupid. I said, I need these reports to pay my employees. I got some people here working with me, and I have an agreement, a business agreement with them, okay? And I need to be able to pay them. And if I don't know what videos they're making, I can't pay them. So Machinima, on a monthly basis, starts sending me reports that are the most stupidly ludicrous reports I've ever seen. Is it a Excel file that I can sort and search and do stuff with, right? Is it anything that I can do anything with actively? No, it's a fucking PDF file. Uneditable, unsortable. It's just like as if someone right now handed you a piece of paper with printed text on it. That's what they're sending me, okay? So here's what we would do. We would wait for a month to pass, okay? And the next month, we would sit down when they send me the monthly report, and we would say, what were the co-ops we did last month? And we would figure it out. Okay, here's what we did. And I would, not John, I would go there line by line and count up the amount of money that those videos made, because that's exactly what the report was. What I was paid for that video by Machinima that month. So I would go through all of that and sort it myself, add it up, subtract taxes, which we knew what the taxes were. I knew what I was paying my tax guy and everything, you know, for the taxes. Here's the profits. And I would cut it right down the middle, 50%. And I would give that to John on a monthly basis. Okay? Now, he's absolutely correct. There was no residuals paid. Okay? And there was a reason for that. It was actually a discussion that we had. It wasn't like, oh, we never talked about it or whatever. We did have a residuals discussion. He said, is there any way to figure out residuals? I said, well, John, the only way we can figure out residuals is literally if every month, not only am I going to sit down and look at the new videos we make, but now I have to request reports on previous months from Machinima, and I have to sit down here and crunch those numbers too. And we did this actually once and found out that the residuals, unless it was a giant playthrough, the residuals were essentially nothing. All right? A few dollars. Okay? Now, you might say, well, it's a few dollars is a few dollars, right? I mean, hell, if he's coming over your house every week and doing co-op, what's fair is fair. Pay him what you're owed. We had this conversation. And the conversation was, okay, well, we're going to do this co-op content, but also there's going to be things that come up, right? Sometimes we're going to do other things. We're going to go on trips. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And not to say that it was a contract we made. We didn't. This contract was never, by the way, No contract was ever made between us. There was no written contract. He didn't sign. I didn't sign. This was just our agreement that we did. We just did it. We were friends. We didn't think that anything could go wrong. And my God, if any, ladies and gentlemen, please listen to me. No, really. Please listen to me right now. Okay? If I can give you one piece of advice out of this whole situation, this whole fucked up situation, this is it right now. This moment. Clip this part, okay? It doesn't matter if you're friends with someone. If you are entering a business arrangement with someone, you must document it and you must have a contract. Period. Because this is not the first or last time that an entire friendship has been negatively affected and in some cases torn apart by a business relationship. All right? I know examples of this. For example, screwattack.com, which doesn't exist anymore, was a very prominent website on the internet for people who make content about video games. There was 2 guys who were in charge, Stuttering Craig and Handsome Tom. Sadly, the same thing happened with them that happened with me and Rambo, where they had kind of agreements, and they weren't necessarily contract. And then after years of working on this content together, they had a massive disagreement of falling out. They split, and now they hate each other, essentially. Okay? It's fucked up. They were like the closest guys, you know? And the public saw that unfold, saw them have their relationship be broken, fractured, and split over the business. You know? I don't necessarily think that's exactly what happened here. I think that's one of the factors. Obviously, John would not be bringing this up if it wasn't a factor, right? He'd be ignoring it. It's a factor to him or he's not going to address it. But we didn't ever have a contract. So he can say all of this and I can say all of this, but there's no evidence of any of it, right? It's all hearsay. All I can tell you is I'm corroborating what he's saying. Yes, it's true. There were no residuals. Why was there no residuals? Because there was no way to figure them out. There was no, oh, can I have someone take data from YouTube and crunch a spreadsheet and figure out this and this and actually pay him? What we had was kind of an unspoken agreement. Okay. And the unspoken agreement was that for the extra stuff, here's the thing on YouTube, how it works. When you first upload a video to YouTube, especially back then, maybe today it's a little different. Back then, you would upload a new video to YouTube. That video would get a ton of hot new ads on it. You make tons of money on the ads. As soon as that went away, the ads would stop running and you make almost nothing on the video. So if a video is not monetized, you make no money on it. So we would do a playthrough, a hot new co-op playthrough. The first few weeks, it would make tons of money, all right? After that, the next month, 2 months, almost nothing. Because the ads aren't running on it anymore. Those ads are now running on all your hottest new uploads, okay? Always. Why do you think I pump out so much content? Right now, if I were to not make any new content this month, I would make almost nothing on ads on YouTube. That's how it's always worked, okay? Don't care what anyone else wants to tell you. In my experience, that's always been the case. So, we had a situation here where I would have loved to pay him residuals, but we didn't know how to figure it out without an insane amount of number crunching and work for what essentially was going to amount to very little, all right? So, the unspoken rule, I mean, it wasn't that we put it down on writing, but we talked about it, is, all right, well, there's going to be situations where we're going to go on trips, right? I'm going to arrange for us to go to a convention. I'm going to arrange for us to go on a trip that I'm going to vlog or whatever. And the arrangement was that even though he wasn't getting paid any residuals for the content, I would try to pay for as much of that as possible, whether it was a hotel room, whether it was gas for his car, because he was driving, but I would pay for the gas, whether it was plane tickets in some cases. That was kind of the rule that we had. I was the one making the money here, right? I would pay him 50% of the co-op income, and anything else that came of it would be in another form, and maybe intangible form, but you'd be able to go on trips and stuff. Like, that's what the agreement was, okay? He never complained. He never had a problem with it whatsoever, and this started essentially in early 2011 when I was partnered with Machinima. I can't tell you the exact date, but I believe it was about mid to late 2013 when this changed. And he's going to reveal how it changed, all right, right now. So let's continue.
Again, it's not exactly 50% if you throw that out there, but this goes on for a little while. Then he says to me, Machinima isn't sending me reports anymore, so I have no idea. The amount of money that we're making on the co-op. I have no way of figuring it out. So I can no longer figure out this percentage that we agreed on. So I basically just go, okay, listen, throw me $100 every time I come down.
I'm going to let him talk.
Okay.
Say the whole thing.
And the way I come to this number is because round trip, it's about 2.5 hours of driving. right? I'm there the entire day, and I have to buy a meal at some point. So give me $100 to kind of cover my expense. You also have to consider, these are days like I'm not going to work because my job, and I'm an independent contractor, so I'm not going to work these days. So if you really do the math, with gas and food and wear and tear in your car, $100 every time you come, you're not exactly profiting there. And including not going to or working at a job which will actually make you more money than this,
Yep.
So just to flat out say you got 50%, it's far from true. It's far from the truth there. Like I guess it's half truth. It's a half truth. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, it's a half truth.
So when people want to throw their stuff out there, man, you went to conventions and you paid for things. Again, like you go to conventions, you got to take time from work, which is I'm not getting paid for work. And we went to conventions, he's got an injury. He has a back injury. So I would go and I would carry things. I would film things. I did all the driving, as you know, and do whatever I could to help. I was coming as not. It's not just like, hey Phil, take me on this trip, and I'll fuck around and I'll sit by the pool. Came as basically to assist him in his business, as he likes to call it, right?
Mm-hmm. A lot of passive aggressive stuff, and all that stuff he just said. A lot of passive aggressive stuff. The business, as he likes to call it. He has a back injury, or so he says. His back, right? Yeah. Everything there. Everything I ever said was true. I had a back injury. It was severe. The thing is, I'm very, very good at hiding pain, right? You guys couldn't tell in my videos back then. Half the time when I was sitting around making a vlog, I was in shooting pain up my leg, numbness. It was bad, all right? I had a business. I was paying taxes. I was doing everything like you have to do with a business. But it's funny, all these insinuations, right? Oh, yeah, what he calls a business. That back injury he has and stuff. That's basically what he's saying by saying that stuff like that, okay? Now, I will 100% confirm everything he just said. Yes, what happened was I want to say it was late 2013. I can't confirm that. But after over 2 years of me paying him that 50% cut, our arrangement changed. Now, just to give you guys a little bit of perspective, okay? 1 month, okay? We're texting back and forth, I believe. And John's like, hey, I'm just curious, did Machinima send you the report? Because actually, I'm kind of hard up this month. I need some help. Can I get the money a little early? I was like, yeah, no problem, man. Let's try to figure this out. So I get the report out, and I'm doing it. It was like the middle of the night, okay? I'm doing it, and I don't know if I fucked up, all right? I don't know if we just had a really, really good month that month. I can't remember. But I remember doing it in the middle of the night, and it was like an exorbitant amount of money for both of us, split down the middle. It was like a ridiculous amount for a co-op. It was the most we had ever made on a co-op by far, by I'm not kidding, like double. All right? And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, could this be real? Did I fuck up? So it's the middle of the night. I'm tired. I'm probably fucking it up. Who cares, right? I'm doing the math again. I do it again. It's the same. I was like, so I don't think I fucked up. I just think something happened. Maybe that particular playthrough got giant ads on YouTube for some reason. Giant views for some reason. I don't know what it was. I don't know why. There was a time when we did, it might have been, I don't know if it was. But I know that we did a Family Guy playthrough, and that playthrough had inflated views, and we got overpaid for it. But I don't know if that was it. But anyway, there's this one time where he really needed the money, and I said, okay, I'm going to send it to you, okay? So I send it to him, all right? 5 minutes pass. I get a frantic phone call. He goes, Phil, I think you made a horrible mistake. He goes, I think you sent me too much money. This is ridiculous. There's no way. I was like, no, John, I just did the math like 3 times, and that's really, what you're owed for this month's work. He goes, no. He's like, there's no way. He goes, there's no way that's the amount. And I was like, no, it really is.
and he's like, I feel guilty taking this much for the playthroughs we did this month, you know? And what we're doing, we're fucking around. We're sitting around playing video games. He's like, we made this much money. I was like, John, listen, I want you to know something. I don't even care if I fucked up. I make good money here. You know, not only are we doing this co-op that's making crazy money, because these were the great years of YouTube when ad revenue was rolling. I told you how much money I used to make back then, insane amounts. And I said, there's so much money I'm making, dude, I don't care. Just keep it. I don't even care if I fucked it up. Just keep it. You need it, dude. I'm your friend. I know this is kind of fucked up that it's a business relationship. We even have to talk about it. Just keep it. And he was happy, you know? So to me, when he's bringing this shit up in a video like this, it's like, it couldn't have been further from the truth of this. He's making it sound like it wasn't a good situation. It was a crazy good situation, man. He was so happy doing that co-op. I know he was. We had so much fun, and he was actually able to do things financially because he was making good money doing it, you know? And it really irks me. It really irks me that he even talked about this in the video. When he says, oh, I was treated fairly, but now I'm going to talk about this for a long time like I wasn't, okay? Now, the second half. He's talking about the $100 a week, okay? So, in late 2013, I think, I can't confirm this because I don't have the data anymore. Machinima tells me they can't send me the reports anymore. They don't give me a justification as to why. They just say they can't. They also told me no one else under the partner network made those requests. I was the only person asking for that data, and they don't have to provide it. So this is just one of the many cases over the years where Machinima's attitude towards me completely changed for no seemingly good reason. We had a good relationship. They were sending me these reports all along, no problem. All of a sudden, oh, we can't do that. Why is he being so demanding of us that he wants this data? So they wouldn't give it to me anymore, okay? So if you don't have the raw data, all you can do is guess based off of views on YouTube, which is not reliable. And we were trying to guess how much money videos are making or whatever. And John, after like a month of trying to guess and you know, having difficulty doing it, said, all right, forget it. He's like, here's what we're going to do. Just pay me $100 a week. And I even said to him, I said, are you sure that's what you want? I in my head, I had a ballpark number. I wanted to pay him around $250 a week to come do what he did, because it was Smart Guys, the commentary show, and it was all the co-op we were doing. And I knew that he was driving. I knew it was gas cost involved both ways. He lived in New York, the state. I live in Connecticut. There's exorbitant amounts of gas cost there. Probably he was paying $20, $30, I would think, every couple of weeks for gas just for the trip. Okay? So I wanted to pay him more. That was the ballpark number I had in my head. It was around $250 a week. Okay? And he said, no, I just want the 100. All right. That's our agreement. We're going to do the 100. By the way, I never offered him the 250. I got to clarify, because now I'm misconstruing it in a wrong way. Bullshit. Bad on you, Phil. Bad Phil. I got to call myself out on bullshit from now on. Bad Phil. I didn't offer him the 250. I asked him what he wanted, and he said 100. The 250 was a number in my mind. I never said it. I feel bad now because I said that. That's a lie. That didn't happen. He wanted 100. I said, I will give you what you want. Okay? I should have paid him more. I didn't. Okay? So, from like late 2013 up until the time when I moved in mid-2014, he was getting paid about $100 a week for the stuff that we were doing. Keep in mind that all those other things, like he just mentioned behind the scenes, conventions, I paid for the hotel rooms, I paid for gas to driving to those. When we went, just to give you some perspective, we went to E3 together in 2012, all right? I basically bullshitted Machinima, and I told Machinima, listen, I need John to come with me to E3 because I need a cameraman because I have a debilitating back injury. Now, did I have a debilitating back injury? Yes. Did I need John to come to E3 with me to film and carry my shit? No. I could have done that myself. I bullshitted Machinima to get him into E3. I paid for his plane ticket myself because Machinima would not pay for it. They said all they would do is they would get him a pass. So I paid for his plane ticket to and from. Okay? We went to WrestleMania. Okay? We knew going to WrestleMania in 2013 would not garner a lot of content for the internet because WWE was classically infamous for claiming content that you put out there from any of their live events. So I knew that even if I recorded footage at WrestleMania, that it wouldn't make money. It wasn't, in my mind, that was not a business trip. That was a fun trip for friends, okay? I paid for the gas. He drove. I paid for the hotel room. I paid for the WrestleMania tickets. Those were over $1,000 each WrestleMania tickets, okay? I didn't care. This was fun stuff I was doing with my friend. I wanted him to be along for the ride with me, okay? I didn't want him to feel left out because I was the one with his name on the channel. I wanted him to come with me and share these experiences with me. The WrestleMania trip was not a business trip at all. It was a friend trip for us to go experience WrestleMania together. And sure, on the back end, come back and do a Smart Guys about it, right? But it absolutely, positively was not that. And he's saying every trip we ever went on, he was my work guy, carrying my stuff and filming. That is completely false. The only trip ever that happened was E3. Do you want to know why that happened at E3? Because we had to bullshit Machinima to get him his pass. So they needed to see him following me along, carrying my bags and equipment. They needed to see him recording some stuff that I was doing so that we wouldn't get in trouble for getting him into E3. Okay? Outside of that, it's actually completely untrue. Whenever we went to a convention, John could do whatever he wanted. I mean, yeah, he would be on the panel that we did at the convention to promote his own content that he was doing on his channel, whether it was his podcast or Schnozman and Hole Punch. I didn't demand that when he came to a convention, he could only talk about our content. That wasn't the intention. It was he could get free promotion for his own stuff. I got his foot in the door of all of these conventions and onto these panels to promote his content, okay? There was a convention we went to, Screw Attack Gaming Convention in 2013, okay? I think it was 2013. I'm pretty sure it was. During this convention, I think I interacted with John Rambo a grand total of 2 hours. It was probably when we arrived, said hello, saw each other at the table that we had there a few times, and then when we were leaving, we didn't have the same hotel room. At that point, I was with my ex. We had our room, and he had his own room with Howard, okay, and OJ. I was doing my own content. I was filming everything myself. Everything that was filmed for the Iron Man of Gaming competition, I filmed, okay? Yet, he was there. I got him in. He had a table. He had a panel with me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he went and made so much content for his own channel. In this video, he acts like, oh, you got to understand that even though the money was good and people can justify that the money, maybe even if it wasn't good, will Phil paid for all those conventions and things. Well, I was working the whole time. That's a lie. He worked definitely during E3, and everything else was us having fun as friends. Okay? Everything else was, like I said, that WrestleMania trip, there was zero work. There was no work. It was fun. So he is spinning this in a way that's, all right, not completely untrue, because there's one time when he actually did do a significant amount of work because we had to, or else Machinima might say, hey, what, do you fucking lie to us about this guy, filming for you or whatever? I told him he was my cameraman, and I needed that because I had a back injury, right? Outside of that, it was always friendship. It was about friendship, me paying for everything because I was the one making all the money on the channel, and friendship so that he could come with me. This statement he's making here is incredibly hurtful to me. Incredibly. Because it couldn't be further from the truth, at least from my perspective. Maybe that's how he saw it, but that wasn't what was happening. I can't believe he says this. Really, I can't. Oh, every trip that we went was full work for me and I was taking days off of work. Dude, it was us hanging out. And I paid for everything because you were taking time off of work to do it. You wanted to go. You agreed to all of it. Like, why is this an issue later? Right? Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. I'm actually really hurt by that statement that he makes there, because that really makes it feel like all those times we had together that were friendly and I was doing my best to make sure that he could share in the fun of everything that I was doing as a result of being a YouTuber, that he would be part of it because I wanted him to be part of it because he was my best friend at the time. I really felt like this is like him just saying none of that mattered at all. None of it ever mattered. It was all bullshit. He didn't care. And I don't believe that. I think that this is a video of him trying to, like I said, along with Howard, create kind of hit piece against me. And this is a messed up situation where he's trying to downplay all the great times we had that were not about being monetized, or not about him filming, doing work for me. It was about us being friends and me paying for those fun times to happen. And he's like, oh, that's not a factor. Okay, you know, whatever. You can believe me, you can disagree with me and not believe me. I don't care. I'm just getting it off my chest, okay?
So again, it's not me. That wasn't me complaining about, like, I should have gotten this, I should have gotten that.
Because he never did.
It's just, like, again, it gets out there. He got half of what's made. But there's many more details in there that, you know, are not given.
One final thing about it, because they're going to move on and start talking about Project 7 now, I believe. By the end, those last few months that I was in Connecticut and I was paying him the $100, not that this even matters, but just doing basic math, okay? Our co-op stuff had completely fallen off. We basically had done all the big games. There wasn't many big games coming out. We were just weekly doing co-op. And between Smart Guys and, you know, the co-op stuff we were doing and the money that those videos were essentially making from Machinima, I was paying him more. That $100 I was paying him a week was actually more than what was being made on the videos. So he was coming over and we were doing content for the sake of just doing content and having fun. And I was paying him more money than I was making. I was losing money on the co-op for about 2-3 months there at the end there, roughly. Okay? All you gotta do is look at the decline of my channel over the years and you'll see the viewers go boo all the way down. And yeah, those views monstrously declined on that stuff around 2014. But I wanted it to keep going. And that's why I kept paying him.
Let's get into this, man. I'll spend all day on this. Probably
Here we go. Project
8 hours
7.
on this topic. Try to keep it down as much as we can.
So you ripped them off. You fucked your friend over. You had a good idea of what the averages were month to month to month on your playthroughs. You could have just split the difference. Or you could have paid him that. To be honest, he was your friend and your business partner. DSP didn't do that. He looked at it as, oh, John's gonna lowball himself? Oh shit, okay, well then he really is just an employee, just like what Panda called him, called John, and he just took that and ran with it. Makes you think. Really, really makes you think. That's how John got fucked. Crazy.
On Saturday, and usually it was prominent and popular and it would do numbers and we make a lot of money doing it.
John didn't, but whatever. You made a lot of money and John didn't.
And then all of a sudden, after we were doing this for like a year and a half, you start hearing, oh, did you hear this other group of YouTubers are doing a co-op show? Did you hear this other group of YouTubers are doing a weekly co-op show? A co-op show? Like, wait, what? Now, I'm not saying that I invented the co-op show by any means. I'm just saying I was focused on doing my own content. I only cared about that. I didn't really care what everyone else out there was doing. But then I would start hearing about, oh, someone else is also doing what you're doing. Someone else is doing what you're doing.
So that doesn't mean anything because the guys who originally came up with the co-op play, they may have very well been told by their audience, hey, you know these other two guys are doing this, starting to do this too? So what does that mean? So no, you don't get to sit there and say, oh, I was in a bubble only focusing on my own content and all these people just all of a sudden came out of nowhere and said, hey, you know these guys are biting off of you? No, you don't get to paint that narrative. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. Sorry.
Well, no shit. No kidding. I was an innovator back then, quite frankly.
You just admitted that he didn't start it up. I want you to peep game on this. And that's why I said earlier on in my beginning monologue that DSP is going to say that, you know, hey, I may have not have been the first one to do it, but I popularized it. Because that's his little wiggle room now. That's what he uses to get his pig butt through these corners and shit, is that I popularized it. No, I didn't start it, but I was the one that made it popular. I made it mainstream. That's the thing that he likes to do now. Snake, gouty viper type bullshit, if you will.
Doing a weekly co-op show? A co-op show? Like, wait, what? Now, I'm not saying that I invented the co-op show by any means. I'm just saying.
You didn't even popularize it, like I said. You didn't even make it mainstream. So I don't know why you're taking credit for anything. You literally bit off someone else's style. And just as you've done pretty much your whole YouTube quote unquote career. And then you got the nerve to get upset that other people did it better. And they made way more money than you did. Which didn't even matter because he was ripping off John anyway. So womp womp to that. And some of you are saying, well, wait, man, you know, because some of you are going to be some really sharp cookies. I'm going to assume that all of you guys are. And some of you are going to be like, well, wait Yo, Golden, man, wait a second, man. You know, I gotta disagree with that, son. Something don't seem right, son. Okay, so don't make me go ahead and take the belt off and beat the A on you, Golden. But like, I gotta ask, man. Gotta ask. John was the one who said only $100. So isn't it really fair to say that John just sold himself short and DSP just capitalized off the situation? You would be fair to say that. You would be fair to say that. But allow me to give you my counter argument to that. What if DSP wasn't cutting John in on the profits fairly from the get-go, even with the monthly reports? What if DSP was shortchanging him from the rip? What do you think about that? DSP and John worked on a lot of shit, a lot of stuff. One of my examples is Project 7. You know how like the DSP likes to have his debate about that bullshit. He paid John handsomely, this, that, and the third. And John said that, you know, remember, John had to ask for his cut of this content after a little while. They were doing content for a good amount of time before John had to, John had to ask for his cut of the money. And that's when DSP started to bring him in on the profits. Now, the amount of time between John asking for the piece of the money, piece of the profits, for what he contributes to this, and when DSP all of a sudden couldn't get those itemization or itemized reports from Machinima about what those videos make, I can't tell you what that time period is. But it is interesting that that's how it happened, right? It's not like DSP was like, hey, let's go ahead and start doing content with each other, John. I'll cut you in on that. No. John had to ask for that. And then whatever period of time later, all of a sudden DSP is like, well, Machinima doesn't give me the itemized reports anymore, John. I don't know how much I should pay you. So John's like, okay, well, I'll take, you know, $100 every time I come up or whatever, 150, whatever it was and whatnot. And I'll work off that. DSP's like, all right, great. And then shortchanged them from here on out. Who's to say he didn't shortchange John from the jump? The moment John asked for his cut of the money, DSP was like, okay, well, let's say this videos make me about $500. Let's give John like 125. Let's do that. And then I'll say I'll cover taxes or some bullshit. Or there's some type of other fee that I'll cover because John, you're my friend and I'm doing you a favor. So I got you on that, John. I got you on that, John. Who's to say? Food for thought. Food for thought.
I was focused on doing my own content. I only cared about that. I didn't really care what everyone else out there was doing. But then I would start hearing about, oh, someone else is also doing what you're doing. Someone else is doing what you're doing. Well, no shit. No kidding. I was an innovator back then, quite frankly. No one wants to admit it today because now everyone just wants to talk about lolcow status. But a lot of stuff that I did back in the day, people kind of saw and were inspired and kind of bid off of it and did their own thing. So I've never...
So not only did they watch it and they were inspired by it, but they also watched it and stole from you. Because, you know, he wants to call it stealing, but he won't. Because he ain't stolen off other people himself, so he really can't say that. Something to think about.
Never seen two best friends play. I've heard that it's great and people really loved the show and they were sad when it ended. Good. That's a good thing.
Good thing that it ended? Oh, no. I know some of y'all be like, yo, you reaching. And you're probably trying to reach for that belt. Put that belt down. Hear what he said. The only person that's putting belt to ass around here is me.
Best friends play. I've heard...
Well, and MILF and Cookies, but that's a whole different thing. And, you know, we don't need to talk about that.
Heard that it's great and people really loved the show and they were sad when it ended. Good. That's a good thing.
He's the one who said it. Look at how he framed that. That's a weird thing to say about a show that just ended, that everybody likes so much. Seems kind of strange to me.
People kind of saw and were inspired and kind of bid off of it and did their own thing. So I've never seen two best friends play. I've heard that it's great and people really loved the show and they were sad when it ended. Good. That's a good thing. I hope that if they come back that they do well. I don't know anything about them. I've literally never seen their show. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's good, it's bad. I'm not going to say I'm jealous that they were popular because I know that they were very popular at one point. And honestly, I just...
But how did you really know that, though, if you didn't watch it? Just because some dents came up and told you that? You believe everything that you're told on the internet? Semantics.
Don't really care. Okay? But in truth, the reason that I don't know about them is because I was always a very work-oriented guy focused on my content and what I was doing. And I didn't really pay...
Enslaving your friends up. Let's not forget that.
attention to what everyone else was doing around me. I just
Even though you kept up with the creatures, kept up with Max, you kept up with PewDiePie, Markiplier, Jacksepticeye. Do I need to keep going? He kept up with all of them. He kept up with Toby Turner. Interesting.
didn't really care. So I knew that there were other people that were popping up that were doing similar things to what I was doing, and they were becoming popular, and I was kind of waning and going by the wayside.
And yet, like I said, he waged the campaign against Toby Turner, for example. Oh, and he also called Justine a slut. And the only reason why that she even was getting to host game shows and all that shit is because she was getting bent over at some executive office and shit. They were having a good old time in her batter's box. And that's the only reason why she got the opportunities that she got. There's that too, by the way. So it's kind of weird. You know, it's kind of weird to go ahead and objectify a chick like that, you know what I'm saying, that you don't know and whatnot. But then again, I mean, if we're going to call women sluts, then theoretically I could call Kat a slut, right? Because she was still sucking off Subaru Man while she was talking to you. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you literally stole another man's horse. You literally were, you know what I'm saying, poaching on another man's turf, on another man's territory, on another man's terrain. Just saying. Just, you know, if we want to go that route. Semantics. He didn't care. He didn't watch any of these other people. He wasn't concerned about it. He was just trekking away doing what he was doing. Okay, sure.
I just didn't give a shit. I just focused on my own stuff. So I've literally never seen them do anything. So I can't comment if I would like it or not because I never watched it. So there you go.
Sure.
Soul at 2 a.m. did a $2 super chat, says, can we get a I like the game emote for YouTube?
That's literally a yes or no answer. But wait and see how this shit goes.
You mean just a general text that says I like the game? I mean, let me put it this way. We can add and subtract emotes on YouTube, but we can't get more. What I mean is we've hit the limit. There's no way that I can unlock more emote slots unless I get like thousands of members, which I'm never going to get.
What the fuck? Imagine how he turned a simple request for one emote to, well, we could, but see, I can't actually add more emotes. I would have to get rid of something to be able to add that in, unless I can get thousands of subs. Are you willing to contribute towards that? You want to help me out? You know what I'm saying? Who's going to come out here and help your old boy, Phil Burnell? Who's going to do that? DSP, Darksydephil, Dark Geppetto. Who gonna help him out? Who gonna help out the old boy, Phil Burnell? Scumbag. I say, always looking at turning something into a beg. God, I'd admire it if he wasn't such a piece of shit. And if people actually got what they were paying for, or getting what they were paying for, I should say.
There's no way to unlock any more emote slots on my YouTube channel. So basically, we'd have to replace something. So I could make an emote that says I like the game, but the question is, what emote gets the chop?
I don't know, an emote that's not being used. How about that? Is every emote that you have of being used daily? Fucking dent.
What are we getting rid of?
Fucking dent.
You see, that's why I don't really think about adding new emotes to
Truly a Clark Dent, to say the least. Truly a super dent.
often. The last one that I added was the flex emote because people were requesting it.
So we were able to put that up there with no problem. So what had to go by the wayside for that to be up there? Makes you think. Makes you think.
Okay, what's up, Sloppy Steaks? How are you?
It didn't
How's it
even
going?
answer his question. When you really think about it, didn't even answer his question. Oh man, that poor dent. Well, in any case. In any case. Holy shit. In any case. All right, so let me give you guys final thoughts. Let's get you guys up and out of here. Holy shit. Big ups to Raw Phil, big ups to Diggs, big ups to Chio, and whatnot. Actually, I need to reach out to Chio. I actually have I have some questions I'd like to run by them and whatnot. I guess it's more of a request than anything, but we'll see. It'll be cool though. All right, so final thoughts. So DSP pioneering the co-op, two-man co-op. He didn't popularize it. He didn't make it mainstream. He's not in that conversation. He's just another guy that was online who did it. He saw someone else do it and did it himself in the story. Same thing with the two-man wrestling thing. He may be one of the first people to do it. You know what I'm saying? One of the first, but he wasn't the first. And other people came on later and did way better, made way more money, actually really took that shit and ran with it. And DSP can say, oh, I had my interests, you know, which he tried to do here. I had my interests over here and over there and over there, so I couldn't hyper focus on one thing. I don't want to hear no excuses like that, because that's all it is, an excuse. As it pertains to being an innovator, I mean, exploiting your dents for every last dollar for all of their social security checks and disability checks, I guess, for basically whoring your fucking friends out for profit and your underage girlfriend at the time, I guess, and that, even then, that's not necessarily true, the latter part of that. For you just being a massive piece of shit in every community that you've ever been attached to the point where dudes are almost go out their way to write you off and whatnot because no one wants to claim you, yeah, you definitely deserve some credit for that. I don't think DSP ever innovated shit, and that's not, you know, me talking as I'm campaigning for Hater of the Year. It really just comes down to the fact that everything he did was biting off of someone else. He just took it to an extreme. He oversaturated the market to try to choke those people out. Well, why would you try to choke out a group of people who you don't watch, who you don't feel is a threat to you? Unless you did watch them and they were a threat to you and you wanted to do everything you can to swamp them out. But he couldn't beat them with quality, so what does DSP do? He beats them with quantity. End of story. And now all these years later, he's not even in those conversations. He can go ahead and talk from his very decrepit soapbox and say whatever the fuck he wants to say from his pulpit. But the reality is when you think about mainstream duos, dynamic duos, if you will, not dented duos, but dynamic duos, DSP and John are not in that conversation. And that's not John's fault. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because John was getting fucking slaved out and shit and wasn't even getting what he was supposed to be getting paid and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And that's what DSP's legacy is. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. This has been, I'll name this segment later, GTG spits that grease, so on and so forth. Take care of yourselves, people. Take care of yourselves, people. And remember, beat your little cows and beat them often. And I'll catch you guys for the next one. Later, people.